All right, hello everybody and welcome to this webinar on behalf of the Facebook group Channeling Development and Spiritual Growth. My name's Kim Chamberlain and I have the great pleasure to be able to introduce to you today Debby Emeny. And Debbie is going to speak on a very interesting topic, why our past lives show up, and it's to do with quantum holographic healing. Now, I've known Debbie for quite a few years now, and she has many strings to her bow. She has a whole range of modalities and a whole range of services. We are very fortunate to have her here today. So welcome, Debbie. We're looking forward to this.
No, thank you, Kim. Thank you for that introduction. Yes, we do go quite a ways back with various things. And it's always a pleasure and an honor to come on and speak. And there's nothing I like better than talking about various topics and things. So it's my pleasure to share my own modality, quantum holographic healing, with you. Now, I'm going to share my screen here. And we'll put that on presenter view. Hopefully you can see that now as presenter view. Just let me know if you can't. So quantum holographic healing, again, that is my own modality, and I'm going to explain to you why it's called that, where it comes from, what it does, and how I believe from my vast experience, it is quite different to anything else. So I will say that this is through me, not by me. And for me, that's a very important distinction here. And I know you'll know all about that. So I'll try and keep it brief because I know we've only got about an hour, including questions. And I do have quite a few slides on here. And some of them will have just 60-second video short. You may have seen those on YouTube or Facebook. And within that 60 seconds, I have crammed a whole hour's worth of a session. So very short and concise. So about myself, I am a professional sound healer. I use sound healing every day, and that is my day job. And like anything else, when you do something you love, you don't feel like you work a day in your life. And that's how I feel. So, but from my background, what brings me here, I won't give you a long story, but I was born into this world. I came into this world knowing things, being able to access energy, read energy, which I thought was perfectly normal. You know, being able to sense things off the body, perfectly normal for me. And I was reading cards around about the age of 12 or 13 and literally just had a life of learning ever since. So yes, I do have many modalities under my belt because I love learning, and everything that I do gets blended together. Very rarely do I separate anything. So just a little tick box of things. I have a diploma in life coaching, Reiki master teacher, emotional freedom techniques, master practitioner trainer, certified matrix reimprinting practitioner, NLP, neurolinguistic programming, kinesiology. I'm an author, so many things, and that's just a few. One thing I do like to say, and this may sound a little bit weird, said I've always been able to sense energies. So as much as this can seem like it's in the channeling mediumship arena, I myself, I've got a very strong left brain and a very strong right brain. I myself believe that I'm connecting with energy, frequency, and vibration, and I will explain that to you. So I do not consider myself to be clairvoyant, nor clairaudio, nor clairgnostic, nor clairsentient. I'm specifically connecting with frequencies. Frequency is information, and that's how I see that. And that might sound a little bit strange, but that really is how I see that. So where does quantum holographic healing come from? So that is built upon my background, my lineage, my history of what I've done so far. And primarily it would have come from the likes of EFT, emotional freedom techniques, and built upon that is matrix reimprinting. Now, emotional freedom techniques, people may know you tap on yourself or what's going on in your body, whereas matrix reimprinting, you look at yourself your younger self. So that's a disassociation and a detachment from EFT actually in your physical body. And I've been doing that for many, many years. Again, I became the trainer in matrix reimprinting that was founded by Carl Dawson, who was one of the, I think, 29, either 19 or 29 certified EFT, recognized EFT masters. So I was working with matrix reimprinting with a friend of mine in Spain. We would do swap sessions. And at one point, she was looking at herself. It was called an echo, an energy conscious hologram. And I could then see her. So we were both in the same place at the same time, having the same experience, except I was looking from behind her and she was looking at herself in front. And I just started asking her questions saying, do you have a blue dress on? And, yes, I do. Is this in your picture? Yes, it is. So I could see you. And that was such a huge shift, you know, for two people to be in the same place at the same time. And this sort of is the very beginnings of quantum holographic healing, or what I term it as. Now, when we went into our beautiful sacred seclusion, our lockdown period, this is where it really started coming on board, is that I didn't have a lot else to do. You know, I was using my tuning fork, because I use here a lot. That is I call that my barcode reader. And what I sense in the energies are like barcodes, thick and thin barcodes. And with any barcode, there's information contained within each of those stripes. So this is my barcode reader. So I was using that off the body with people. And then I started seeing things and being gifted information during this sacred seclusion time. And since then, it's been completely fast-tracked. And I will admit that I am still learning about it. I'm still receiving information, which usually now comes in the form of client sessions where I'm just told something. And one of the things I was told, it may be common sense to you, but I'd never heard this before within a session, is that the ego learns the lesson and the soul has the experience. And there's so many different things I have been told during this. And I've been told quite a lot about past lives, why they come through and why they appear. So what is this and what is it not? I think this is an important distinction, because there's a lot of people doing a lot of past life work, but this is not necessarily just past lives. So this is not hypnotherapy in any way, shape, or form. It is also nothing to do with the Akashic records. Although some may say I'm accessing the Akashic records, that's nothing to do with me. I do not bring Akashic records into anything whatsoever. And then there's also regression therapy. You know, hypnotherapy, regression therapy, kind of similar. Absolutely nothing to do with that at all. And it most definitely is not talk therapy. A lot of this is done distantly, and that is often my preferred method of working with this modality here. And I've worked with people all across the world. I've never met them. I don't see them. I know nothing at all about them other than their intention for having this quantum holographic healing. And that is all I need. And their intention could be something as simple as, why have I got this knee pain? Why do I have blocks to creativity? Why do me and my brother just never get on? What's our connection there? And that is all I know. So with it being a distance session, then I can really, really get in the zone. And every session is recorded, whether it's in person or distant. I send you the whole recording, which is me chiming the tuning fork. Sometimes other sound instruments can come in, and me narrating what I see, sense, feel, hear within the space that I go to, which I will try and explain that to you. So what this does, it connects with your quantum holographic blueprint, hence the image there, which I generated with AI, that I feel represents this modality quite well. So it also works with multidimensional information. I've had that come through, which was very challenging when it first came through. And that was quite an eye-opener. So, but basically what this is a direct frequency connection that I access from your holographic blueprint. So again, there's no talking. You know, I prefer if you're in person, you don't say a lot, otherwise I pop out from where I am. And when I am actually in the holographic quantum world, I see 360 degrees around me in full color, in finite detail. And I access that using the tuning forks. So we will have space for Q&A at the end, by the way. So what does this connect with? We've mentioned past lives. It can connect with ancestral lives, and of course, ancestral past lives, which means that you could have been your great-great-great-great-grandmother. So it is your ancestor, but you were your ancestor. So it can access that sort of information. And it can also access concurrent lives, which means there's a life that you are living now in another time and place, be it in the future or in the past. That has happened. Now, how do I know which one of these it is? Because how it feels to me. So there's a different feeling with a past life, an ancestral past life. It all feels very different, and that's very difficult to explain. So the multidimensional lives, they popped in during lockdown, and just in the session last week, I had two multidimensional lives come through for the same client. So that was quite interesting. And that, again, was a distant session. So I'm going to talk to you about the where, the how, and the why. So past lives, from my experience with this, it tells you where and how and why unresolved events are stored, where they are stored. And they are stored in your holographic blueprint, in your barcode. It can tell you your likes, why you have various likes or dislikes, why you have fears or phobias, why you cannot get on with a certain person and they irritate you, or vice versa, while you're besotted with somebody. It can tell you those. It can also tell you emotional or life patterns, why they keep repeating. You know, why do you, keep making the same mistakes over and over? Why can you not get ahead here or there? And this also explains why pain never heals. No matter how many people you can go and see, there's some people where they try everything and it just doesn't go away. In my world, it's because it's in your holographic blueprint and there's a past ancestral multidimensional event that has caused this. And within this modality, that event is cleared. So it's not just about telling you, hey, you were a gladiator or you were Joan of Arc, not that anybody has ever been that. It actually clears the event. Like I said here, inherited imprints are released far beyond yourself, because when you go back to a past life and these imprints are released, think of the knock-on effect, we'll call it the quantum effect, if you will, from that point forward. And that's where I got a huge aha moment within the quantum world. So what becomes possible with this? it can dissolve karmic threads and an energy entanglement. That's something that happens quite frequently. I've got a lot of stories I can tell you. You can receive emotional release without ever visiting the event. It is one of the best ways I know of to work with any so-called trauma. You don't need to speak about it. And sometimes, you know, the trauma may come up in a past life because, again, I see everything that's there. You don't. Some very, very rarely a person might, but generally you don't. So you're certainly not hypnotized. I'm not asking you to do anything other than lay there. And when it's distant, you just be in a quiet space, play relaxing music, set your alarm for an hour, and that's it. So it does realign the soul's original blueprint. That's what the messages I'm receiving from it, that this is what it does. And rewrites the DNA of the soul. Again, I'm just repeating what I have received through these learnings. And as we mentioned just a moment ago, it can release pain across lifetimes, both backwards and forwards. So from, you know, your ancestors going back, and your future self will also benefit from that as well. So what we got here? The next one is, oh yes, that certainly you can remember forgotten gifts, wisdom, and your life purpose. So all these things can come about as a result of this modality, depending on your intention. And for me, your intention is to be very brief, no paragraphs, just short and succinct. The more information people give on with their intention, the more muddy it seems to get. Whereas if you are just short and concise, boom, it can go straight in. And it doesn't take too long. So I will play this brief video short here for you. I will say, excuse the marketing, because this is what's on my YouTube channel and I put up on my Facebook. So I hope it will just give a little clearer explanation.
What if the key to your deepest healing has been locked away in your past life? Imagine tapping into a well of forgotten memories hidden deep within your soul. It's not just a fantasy. Quantum Holographic Healing is unlocking doors to past lives, revealing secrets that may be the key to your present ailments. Each of us carries the echoes of our ancestors, and sometimes these echoes manifest as physical or emotional blocks. What if the frustration or the mysterious ailment you're dealing with isn't new? What if it's an old story, replaying through generations, waiting for you to end it? By exploring these past lives, we begin to understand patterns, heal old wounds, and clear the path for profound healing. So why stay trapped by the unknown? Dive into the depths of your soul, unearth the mysteries, and perhaps finally free yourself. Embrace your journey to healing with Quantum Holographic Healing. Are you ready to unlock your past and heal your future?
So I hope that gave a concise version of what I've just spoken about. It's amazing what you can condense into 60 seconds, isn't it? So how does this work? And again, we're going to get on to quite a few stories, which will hopefully give you a better understanding as to what's going on. In my world, this world here, everything is, again, the barcode, it is holographic, it is frequency, it is waves and patterns, and it is information contained within that pattern. And so this, as I mentioned to you earlier, this tuning fork here, my barcode reader, connects with that. And it sends me, or I receive that information by way of a visual. That visual is probably one of the best ways of describing it, is in a dream state. So when you are having that dream, and I mean, some people can interact with their dreams, some cannot. I have occasionally. but it's not something I practice. But it's like I'm walking through your dream. That's perhaps one of the best ways to try and describe that. And so, again, I can see 360 degrees all around me in full color, in finite detail. So if you have a session in person, you can actually ask questions, which makes it interesting, whereas a distant one, you can't, because once that session has ended, within the hour or so, it's gone. I do not remember, unless there is something significant about that particular session, or I discuss it with the client when they're with me in person, and then it goes into my conscious brain. So when past lives appear, again, this is what I've been taught through this modality, it's because we are a holographic being. And where there is an event, never any trauma, I pride myself on keeping people safe. There is no death, only ascension. So, you know, should a potential traumatic event happen, I will not tell you. I will not. I will talk around it, but I will not tell you exactly what that is. It is always an event and an ascension. And that's how it is. So when there's an event that creates, we'll say, a belief system or a personality trait or a fear, part of your holographic body shatters and stays in that place and time as if it remains in that place and time, as if it is still there, living its life how it was living it. Now, the rest of your holographic body would have ascended, not necessarily at that point. So if you were in battle and got shot by an arrow and you ascended, that would have been immediate. But if there was an event when you were 4 years old and that created that shattering of your holographic body, and you ascended when you were 84 years old, that holographic 4-year-old would have been running around in that place and time, stuck there until they get released. So that is also can be considered your belief systems that are stuck, we say in our subconscious mind, but there's a projection into the holographic world. It's the way that I view that in my world. And so with your intention, it can go to those events, and you'll see examples to make this clearer. And I can tell you a couple recent ones. I see that event. I interact with your quantum, your holographic self that has split off. You can think of it as, let's say your holographic self is a 100-piece puzzle, and one piece shatters. And then you move on to your next carnation. I've been told to say it that way. You carnate into your next carnation, and you have a piece of the puzzle missing, your 99 pieces, where that event created a fear of water, for example. Or you injured your knee. And then in the next carnation, you injured your knee again. And so you go further into the next life, and there's 98 pieces of your holographic rather than 100. And so this is how events or pain get stored in the body, because there's pieces of your holographic body left behind in time and space. But in the quantum world, there is no time and space. And so that's what I connect with. And so we see that character, that person, that you, in whatever form you take, be it a priest, be it a witch, be it again, a centurion or whatever you were, and connect with that, get the learnings, the knowledge from them, get their agreement for their ascension, perform the ascension. Some of them struggle with that. And, you know, it really is a conversation that goes on. And if you're with me on the treatment table, then, you can do that yourself. But I always encourage in the recording, I leave space with the tuning forks and the sound instruments for you to do that yourself when you listen back too. But I will only move on from that place with my tuning forks, with the sensors, when that feels complete from my side with what I am seeing. I hope that makes sense to you. So that explains why past lives appear. I'm not knocking anything, and I never would. But from my experience of Akashic readings, that would just tell me I was the monk, I was Cleopatra, or I was this, I was that. But then what? I had an Akashic reading once by somebody that just started learning, and I personally couldn't relate to it, but that was just my experience. But for me, just to say what you were doesn't really resonate. But to say why you were that, what personality traits you have brought forward, why you like and dislike, why you behave this way, that's, for me, that's the key of all of this. And then clear any negative energy, should we say, and realign your frequency and energy to be in a more resonant space, so it never affects you again. And when you carnate into the next life, all your pieces of the puzzle are complete. So if that makes sense to you. Now, I will be showing you a few video shorts to help explain some of this a little clearer. But there's a couple that I don't have on here that I will just tell you very, very briefly. In that there was one I did just a couple of weeks ago. This person came to see me, and instantly there was in person here. I work from home, got a beautiful treatment room here at home. And instantly I connected with a gladiator. And I always ask questions before I blurt anything out. So with this client, I said, you have a fascination with Europe. Yep. You like Italy. Yep. You like Rome. Yep. You like the Colosseum. Yep. And I'll just drill it all down to make sure that what I'm seeing is correct. If anything is no, it's like, right, I need to reevaluate what I'm looking at. And I said, you were a gladiator. Oh, my word, the reaction was just phenomenal. He was sharing how he loved the gladiator movies, and it was just all absolutely phenomenal for this person. And parts of his personality was that he was a very protective person, and very strong within himself physically and mentally, and how he got to be the gladiator. He asked questions. Where did the gladiator come from? How did he get there? We followed his story. And then there was time for another one after that. And he had some breathing issues. And instantly I saw something that I was not telling him. And he related to all of those things. And we connected with the past lives. He actually connected with both of them, actually. With the second one, we did the ascension, huge release of breath from him. And he said that, he could breathe much easier after that. So that's a little example. And this sort of thing can happen quite frequently too. I did a session for somebody in the South Island a few weeks back, and there was an Indian that came through, and I saw 2 feathers in the hair. And I ask what name people want to go by rather than what is your name, because I don't know how true it is. So I say, what name do you want to go by? And so this Indian said 2 feathers. I'm like, okay, that's a bit of a short name for an Indian, but 2 feathers it is, you know. So I'm referring to the past life as 2 feathers. And I could hear there was something else in there. And just at the end of the session, the words came through, Billy 2 feathers. I'm like, Billy 2 feathers? What a strange name for an Indian. I thought, oh, well, maybe I've made that one up, because I'm very cynical with what I do. And so I sent it off. And a couple of days later, I heard from the client, he had found William 2 feathers as an Indian. And that sort of thing is not uncommon. So I'm going to play you a little video short here. This was a client that was in physical pain. She had had the pain for quite a long time. And I will admit that after this session, she was pain-free and had been pain-free ever since for that particular condition.
If your pain feels ancient, perhaps it truly is. Imagine a journey beyond time where healing awaits. Meet Jane, a woman plagued by a mysterious shoulder injury that just wouldn't heal, no matter what she tried. Doctors, therapies, medications, nothing worked. Then Jane explored the fascinating world of quantum holographic healing. This isn't your everyday treatment, it's like a deep dive into the soul's memory. In a session that seemed more like a time travel experience, Jane discovered she had lived during the tumultuous times of the French Revolution. There she suffered a similar injury. It sounds unbelievable, right? But here's where it gets interesting. Through this healing technique, Jane didn't just revisit her past, she healed it. And as her past wound healed, so did her shoulder in this life. Now recovered, Jane's story isn't just about healing. It's about the unlimited connections between our past and present selves, and how understanding one can miraculously heal the other. So, could your unexplained pains be echoes from another life? Maybe it's time to find out.
So hopefully that explained it a little clearer. This one here is one of the first quantum holographic healings that happened, and very profound. It took me to biblical times, and I said to the client, she was with me, does she have an interest in biblical times, etc. And she did. So this is her 60 seconds.
Sue's relationship with her mother was strained by tormented feelings of abandonment. And regardless what she tried, nothing worked until she discovered quantum holographic healing. This led her to a past life during biblical times in the era of King Herod. Imagine her past self as a baby and a desperate mother making a heart-wrenching decision to save her child as she fled from King Herod's men. This act of immense love was misinterpreted by Sue's soul as abandonment. Through the profound healing achieved through quantum holographic healing that delved deep to rewrite the DNA of Sue's soul, it uncovered the origins of her pain and helped her to understand her mother's sacrifice. Their bond was transformed, healed by the knowledge and insights from times long past. Now Sue lives free from the burden of that ancient abandonment, her heart reconciled with her mother's timeless love. What could quantum holographic healing do for you?
So that was again the first one where I really got deep into the image. I was in those biblical times. The image you saw of the woman running with the baby, that took me a long time to create that with AI because I wanted to get as close as possible. But the uniforms were different there, and I did actually research the uniforms because I didn't believe that King Herod's men would have been dressed like that, but apparently they were. And I saw lots of stitching on the uniforms. And the mother, so obviously the client was a boy in that lifetime, in biblical times, and the mother was offloading the baby to a friend to try and save it. But of course, the baby registered that as abandonment. And shortly after that session, she went to visit her mother.
Sue's relation.
This one here was a distant client for somebody in America who had blocks to creativity. And this is the closest that I'm aware that it has been an actual, no, not this one. That's not the actual past life that's coming up.
Lucy was an artist at heart, but something was amiss. No matter how hard she tried, her canvas remained blank, her brushes dry. Desperate for a breakthrough, Lucy turned to quantum holographic healing, a technique as mysterious as it sounds. In her session, something extraordinary happened. Guided by gentle frequencies and vivid imagery, Lucy discovered she was Vanessa Bell, the sister of renowned painter Virginia Woolf. This wasn't just any story. It was her story that was woven into her very soul and made sense on every level. Realizing this connection, the walls around her creativity crumbled. Lucy not only returned to painting, but started creating art that echoed the depths of her newfound past. Each stroke on the canvas was now a tribute to her and her sister's legacy. So, what is your block? Maybe, just maybe, the answer is waiting in the echoes of a past life, ready to be uncovered and set you free.
Yeah, so in this particular session, I was taken to Victorian England, the old London Bridge or the old Westminster Bridge. I said London Bridge, but when I searched it, it was because the old London Bridge used to be flat. So it could well have been that. And I discovered that this client's past life self, her husband had shamed her, and she was wearing, an old dowdy dress outside by the London Bridge. It was, it was twilight, and she wasn't happy at all. And she decided that she went down by the bridge by the waterside, washed her dress, and decided she was then going to start drawing and tried to sell her drawings on the side of London Bridge, and then decided she was going to live with her sister. And I got the name Vanessa. And so I sent it off to the client, and there's not many where I do this, but this particular one, I thought, I'm going to see if there's a Vanessa from Victorian England. And I just searched something like that, and it came up with Vanessa Bell, whose husband shamed her and lived in London, and how this Vanessa Bell was an artist, and she went to live with her sister. And it was just all the pieces fell together. But on top of that, I actually sent that to the client, and the client came back and said she loves Vanessa Bell. She's got her paintings on her wall, and all of the synchronicities were just boom, 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 boom. So that is the closest to a past life that has happened within these sessions. So where do I go? Where do we go? I really don't know.
Lucy was an...
This one here is beautifully sad, absolutely beautifully sad. And I'll play the story, and again, an hour session in 60 seconds.
Stella longed to connect with her heart, and after falling ill, she wanted to understand the deeper messages of her body and sought insights within a quantum holographic healing, which revealed a past life in ancient Egypt, where Stella was a woman named Anip with a daughter, Bahini. Sadly, Bahine died from a sickness at age 4. Anip grieved intense tears of sorrow that could have overflowed the Nile. Anip placed Bahini in a basket, sending her down the river Nile. It became clear that Stella's inability to connect with her own heart stemmed from Anip's deep unresolved grief, as the cellular memory of this loss that was stored in Stella's DNA was released. Her heart experienced a deep emotional cleansing. As Stella was transitioning from this world, she spoke of her 4-year-old granddaughter, Eloise. It was clear that we were clearing a soul contract. Bahini was 4 when her mother lost her. Eloise was 4 when she lost her grandmother. They had all swapped roles to experience each other's pain. Through quantum holographic healing, Stella and Anip let go of centuries-old grief, freeing their lineage the opportunity to love by dissolving the weight of the past. What could quantum holographic healing reveal for you? What hidden patterns are ready to be released from your own cellular biology? Discover quantum holographic healing today.
Did that make sense to you? Could you see that they had swapped roles? That was a huge, huge learning for me about that, in an actual, it just made sense, what happened there in that session. So I couldn't make this stuff up. I don't have this sort of imagination. I really don't. So, and just briefly, these are some of the other sessions. We've got Billy Two Feathers down here on the bottom right, which I spoke to you about. Up on the top left, there's a praying mantis. That actually was a stick insect. That was the first multi-dimensional being that came through. Challenged the heck out of me. It really did. When I saw that, I thought, no, am I really going nuts here? And the client was laying on the treatment bench, and she had a pain in her very lower back, in her coccyx. And, you know, she'd tried lots of things to get rid of it and sort it out. But what had happened, again, if I had this imagination, it'd be amazing. I saw this stick insect, and I saw this very narrow, it's actually narrower than that, this green chair in that color. It was a throne room, and it was obviously on another planet somewhere. And the client was a different multidimensional being, and she had sat on their throne, and the stick insect race had cursed her. Go figure. But that's what had happened. Crazy stuff, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. And then there was once 2 sessions where a couple, a male and a female, wanted to know what past lives they had had together, and they each booked a session. Now, my left logical brain is going, why not have one session? Because I'm going to tell you the same thing. It's logical for me. So the first thing that came through was the top right one was samurai. She was a samurai. He was a concubine. Never met these people, never knew anything about them. And I felt that he was a big boy. And I actually called out on the recording, he's not going to like having been that concubine. And so that was quite powerful. And then there was something in the 1920s in the middle there. They were both standing against a willow tree with all these cards, etc. And there I wasn't sure if they were brother and sister or just friends. And I've since come to the conclusion, I think they were brother and sister, but just by how it felt. And there was another one where he was a lion tamer for Barnum and Bailey times. And he liked her, but didn't get close to her because she was a fortune teller with the crystal ball and had one of the caravans outside the circus ring. Now, these past lives are just that. This is different to them saying, well, why have I got this pain in my leg? This is just asking what past lives have they had. It doesn't mean in this instance that there was any event there. So that's a different intention that they have given me. And so when I did the other session, I was expecting the samurai. I was expecting, you know, the things that had come previously. But all I got was the 1920s. That was the only one that was the same. And that showed me that it was the dominant character that came through. And whoever was the subordinate character was just there in the background. Whereas she was the samurai and he was a concubine. He wasn't the main character that came through in the past life. But they were equal in the 1920s. So I found that quite fascinating. And the one with the shipwreck there, that was really fascinating. That also goes somewhat with the one with the portal. And so the client asked about his life purpose and what he should do. And so that took me to a shipwreck, and I could see it off the Caribbean, and I could see these particular lines in the shipwreck. And I researched that and I found it. I saw those exact lines. Now I couldn't find it again because that's not the exact ship, but it was in the Caribbean. And I did find that exact thing that I saw. And with this portal here, there was another session where I had to take a client through a portal, and we went to a multi-dimensional place. And as we got through there, we were up high on a hill. And as we got through there, we were seen. And so I had 2 multidimensional beings come towards me saying, you can't be here. And they took us into this room, and all these conversations and whatever took place. And then they took us back to the portal. And with the Eskimo there, again, I know little to nothing about history, which is good because I don't have that, you know, filter coming over things, and I'm not very geographical either. And with the Eskimo, he wanted to ascend on his sled. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. But when I researched that, yes, that's exactly what happened. And this one here, Pedro, that was a hilarious character. He was a young boy. And the woman had pain in her knee and her ankles. And Pedro was a young Mexican boy. He stole some gold from 3 bandits. They chased him across the plains. He was a live fast, die young sort of person, and very, very, you know, enthusiastic about life. Everything was just fun, fun, fun for him. And as a result of what happened to him riding the horse and how they dragged him behind the horse, etc., that was all to do with the ankle pain and her knee pain. And so that was cleared, and all the pain has gone away since. So there's just some examples of some of these sessions, which I just wanted to, you know, let you know of all the different things that have happened there. And the latest thing that's happening with this modality is the holographic blueprint. And this dog here, not the actual dog, I had a inquiry from a lady in America some time ago asking if I would work with her dog. And I said, well, I don't usually work with animals, you know, and tried to refer her to somebody I knew. And she said, no, 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 I want you to work with my dog. It had inhaled silica. And those of you that know about silica, it is very dangerous. And I thought, okay. I said, well, I'll do a 30-minute session, record it, and I'll work with the blueprint. And so I did just that. And I actually saw the blueprint just pop up in front of me, pretty much like that, but it was all blue. And with the coded, I see 1s and 0s and all sorts of things within the blueprint. And there were various nodules in there that I saw and used a tuning fork to help clear them, for want of a better word, and sent her the recording. She played the recording to the dog. A couple of weeks later, she said the dog was feeling better. And she did one more session for her dog, just 30 minutes. And the same thing. And the dog apparently is now fully healed. And I mentioned that to some other people, and they sent me their horse to work with. So and the horse is feeling better. So that's quite a new thing. It's just working with the blueprint rather than past ancestral lives. So I feel like I've speed talked to you for quite some time, and I will take some questions if you have them. But coming up, I have been training people in tuning forks now and then, and I'm very big on self-care, how to use tuning forks for self-care. My passion is you have to learn how to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. That's also what Reiki teaches us when people learn that. So I'm now going to be taking this online. So how to find me? I'm all over the place. I've got about 2,000 people either on Facebook or YouTube, not many on Instagram, not that many on Substack, and I have my website. So that's how to find me. There we go. How was that? Happy to take your questions. Should I stop sharing at this point, I think?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, thank you for that. That was absolutely fascinating. Thanks, Debbie. There must be some questions. Just unmute yourself. Larry.
Yeah, hi, Kim. Hi, Debbie. I did find that fascinating. Thank you. I am curious. You spoke, and I'm a little bit confused, so I'm trying to articulate this so that everyone doesn't get confused by the question. But you spoke about working with the holographic body, and there's a part that gets fixed. In my world of well-being and healing and all of that, if you fix a little part, it normally has an impact on the bigger system. So it helps the other parts. And I sort of wanted to understand the interconnectivity, perhaps. So if a client comes with you with an issue, you mentioned the knee, and I have a fascination with pain and where it is and the emotional connection. So it was like, you know, who knows? Did their emotional impacts and healing also occur? Do you know what I'm trying to
Yep.
say? Did I articulate that?
I think I understand that. There are many ways to look at things, you know, and again, you know, with my background with emotional freedom techniques and all of that, yes, people can come to me with a knee pain and I'll say, oh, flexibility and all those sorts of things. So there's that side to it. I suspend all of that when I do quantum holographic healing, completely suspend it. So with the knee, when the Pedro, the Mexican character, that was due to her gripping onto the horse, or him gripping onto the horse, because he was rode a horse forever. And so that injured his knee. And so we didn't then need to look at any of the emotional aspects that went with that, because it was in the blueprint of the holographic body, which I sensed the energy. But at the same time, I am working, whether you're on the table or not is irrelevant to me. I am working with the knee, moving the tuning fork over the knee, sensing that pain and clearing that at the same time as interacting with the Mexican boy getting away from the bandits. Does that make sense? There's a lot of things going on at the same time. But at no time did I go to any of the emotional aspects while she's not being flexible. Although that could sometimes come about, because what happened with this boy is that, yeah, he was gripping on tight. And so I would say to her, you like to keep things close to you. You like to hold on to them tightly. So I do include those sorts of things, but not specifically in this case to do with the knee. So something that it just comes out.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, sorry, carry on. I'm going to turn my audio off.
Yeah, I've got one. Can you hear me? All right.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah,
Yes.
cool. Okay. Sometimes it doesn't work with my headphones. Have you been given the knowledge of like what's in terms of like a bigger picture than just me or you? Like we talk about this growing and learning and healing things, like, and as a collective we evolve. Have you been given anything that like sits up above that, or have you done any work that's bigger than just a person? Like, have you?
Are you talking cosmic, multidimensionally universal information?
Yeah.
Yeah. With some of the multidimensionals, again, I don't remember this. I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these sessions. I don't remember all of them. Recently, this is just a client session. It's not exactly what you're asking there, Rosalind, but a recent session, there was a woman and a boyfriend that had issues. And what came through is that he was from, I don't know, the Pleiades, and she was from some other, the Andromedas. And it just comes through me. And so they were of different races and they came here to try and heal their differences. And so there have been some higher vibrational insights that have come through. but I don't remember what they are. They are all on the recordings. I have all the recordings, and I do plan at some point on putting them into a book. But I keep facilitating the sessions and don't have time to write them. That's another reason I'm doing some of these 60-second shorts. But yes, there has been some higher information that has come through. And just the simple one that I said when we came on is that the soul, the ego has the lesson and the soul has the experience. So there have been things like that that have come through within these sessions, yes. But it all depends on your intention.
Cool,
If
thank you.
you're looking for that, you could say, well, give me some higher information, and we'll just see what comes through. I never know. Not planned.
Cool, yeah. I've had someone asking me this, or I don't know, something's been asking me, and I've asked a few different people, and it's, yeah, fascinating.
Yeah, it can come through. It can.
Okay, thank you. We're about 8:30-ish now. And just want to say a huge thank you to Debbie. I wasn't sure I was going to understand it, to be honest, in the beginning. Hearing a term like quantum holographic healing, I wasn't sure I was going to understand it, but I did understand it, and it's absolutely fascinating, and it makes so much sense and answers a lot of questions that I guess I didn't know I had. But when you've talked about it, then those were questions that I think somewhere in the back of my mind were there. And it must be absolutely wonderful doing what you do, to be able to, well, A, do it at all, and B, help people so much by being able to do that and helping them on a level that most people wouldn't even consider. So thank you.
Magical playground. Definitely.
It must be.
Yeah.
Like going into Narnia. Must be, yeah. So if you want to contact Debbie, so I will put this recording onto YouTube, so her details will be on there, and I'll put them also underneath the video as well. And that would probably be the easiest way to connect with Debbie, and if you wanted to rewatch this video again or share it with anybody else. And what I will do for anybody who isn't part of the Facebook group, let me just copy this. If you're not part of this Facebook group, it's called Channeling Development and Spiritual Growth. Then we have regular webinars with speakers of the same ilk as Debbie, giving us amazing insights into a much bigger world. So thank you so much, Debbie. I know it's been a fair bit of preparation for you, because I know your presentation was quite a bit longer than this, and it's always hard working out what to leave out. But I think you've given us a really good overview. And thank you for what you've done for us.
No, thank you, Kim. If anybody just search my name or resonate with a Z, I'm sure they'll find me. But
I'm sure they will.
I hope I didn't speak too quickly, but again, they can always watch it again.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
And we will see you next month, hopefully.